So I have an idea, and it's just an idea. I have no means of actually making this a reality, but maybe you do. Essentially, hear me out. Pokemon and Fire Emblem. Are you with me? I don't think that's ever been done before. I think it would be a brilliant, amazing, game-changing, imagine the series, the spin-offs they can have with this type of game.
Now, quick disclaimer, after I recorded this video, I did a little digging on YouTube and I came across this fan-made game called Pokemblem by Vesly. It looks really neat, so I'll put some gameplay footage of that here on the screen. But this fan game, Pokemblem, is a terrific start, and I commend Vesly for all the work he's put into this. It looks cool. I mean, there's sprites, the characters look good, it looks like Fire Emblem mixed with Pokemon. The standout thing for me is where you really see the polish is gonna be in the battle animations. Rather than reusing assets, you know, like the map that you play on in this game is just, it's the same exact routes, there's nothing different. That's what I'm looking for. Newly made assets with a new graphical engine, utilizing brand new animations. But the dream would be that Intelligent Systems and the Pokemon Company come together and they put out and develop a game. That would be amazing.
Think Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and Fire Emblem. I'm a big fan of the old school Game Boy Advance games, Sacred Stones, what's another one? Binding Blade. I'm the kind of guy who, as a kid, I grew up playing Pokemon Red and Blue. That was my first introduction into that world. And of course, the anime series where you first were introduced to Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle. Squirtle's my favorite, by the way. But I also became a fan of the turn-based strategy tactical games, Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem. And something I will never forget is the beautiful sprite work and the animations, particularly in the Game Boy Advance era of Fire Emblem games. And to this day, those just stand out so much to me. But the regular animations and the critical hit animations, it just kind of blew me away. Now, here's the thought, right? If you're a fan of Pokemon games, and also if you're a fan of Fire Emblem games, I think that would be the perfect pairing. And just imagine you mix in kind of that Octopath Traveler, triangle strategy, HD 2D magic into that game. Y'all, the possibilities. I'm just saying, again, I can't make this happen, but maybe y'all watch this, maybe you give it a thumbs up, maybe you like my ideas, maybe you have more ideas in the comments, because you know, it's gotta be a full-fledged game. This discussion is gonna be primarily about like the battle system and how I just envision that in my head. But maybe you have thoughts of overall gameplay, the pacing, even the storyline. So Fire Emblem, right? If you're a fan of the series like me, you really do enjoy the character portraits. I mean, there's a ton of characters over the years that Fire Emblem has developed, but I like the sprites, I like the character portraits. When you have a conversation, you got the speaker on this side, you got the people responding on the other side, they could just have a dialogue. You enjoy the engaging storylines. A lot of times there's the political element involved, bad guys trying to take over the world, so the good guys gotta rally together, classic, but you know, it works. And the battle system of Fire Emblem, where it's planning and strategy, it all matters. You have so many units, maybe you can only use so many units on a particular map. You have to choose, you have favorites, you have ones that you recruited and will never touch ever. But in particular, in Fire Emblem, when you engage in a battle, right, the screen kind of transforms and then you're just kind of in this little world. It's just this one character against another character and the animations play out. And depending on the weapon that you have, it's a dagger, it's a spear, it's a sword, it's magic, whatever the case may be, you get to see the character that initiated the battle and then the retaliation on the other side. And then depending on their speed, right, a character can go twice. And it's that world right there, the battle system that's kind of key to Fire Emblem. It's tactical, it's strategic, it kind of sets it apart from other games and the way they approach it. Now imagine that with your favorite Pokemon. Imagine you're controlling a character like Pikachu. He's got a particular movement range. Maybe he can move 4 spaces. And of course, he's got stats. He's got HP. He's got attack, defense, special attack, special defense. And all of these play out when you engage in battle on the battlefield. And on the map, on different tiles, is the enemy. Maybe in this particular chapter, it's wild Pokemon. So you're going through a route and you engage in battle. It's chapter 1, right? You're starting off, and maybe you're engaging in wild battles where each Pokemon, there's a Caterpie, there's a Pidgey, there's what have you, a Rattata, and you can engage in one-on-one battles. Boom, you take your Pikachu, you approach the Rattata, you choose your attack. So hear me out. There's the weapon triangle in Fire Emblem. Sword beats axes, axes beat spears, spears beat swords, and you have magic kind of doing something. That same idea can apply to this imaginary Pokemon Fire Emblem crossover. You have type advantages. You have water that beats fire. You have electric that's good against water. You have fire that beats grass. And in Fire Emblem, your characters can equip different weapons. Depending on your class, maybe you can equip swords and spears. But whatever one you have equipped, until you change it, that's the weapon that you use when you enter battle. And so there's been numerous times, I'm sure if you've played, where maybe you've attacked an axe user, and so you want the type advantage, you have your sword equipped, and so you've engaged in that battle. Your turn is done. Enemy phase happens, and some guy comes up to you with a spear and attacks you. Now they have the advantage because they're using a spear against your sword. I just have this wild thought that the same could, with some tweaks, apply to the world of Pokemon. Imagine you're Pikachu and you can equip Tackle. So it's a normal type move. Unless you're facing against rocks or steel types, it's gonna be fine. It'll be normal advantage, I guess. But maybe there's a water type on the map. There's a Magikarp, and you don't want to use Tackle against the Magikarp, but you can equip Thundershock. You go into battle, that sweet animation happens where, you know, if you got HD 2D and there could be maybe a 3D element, it doesn't have to just be a 2D plane where a character attacks like this. Maybe there is a little bit of a 3D element that could be incorporated. I don't know, but there's people out there who do. Imagine the really sweet battles that can play out. Watching a Pokemon use a move against another Pokemon, then they retaliate with a move of their own, whichever one they have equipped, and then that battle's done. Or if you have a speed stat that's greatly higher than theirs, you go twice. Then that battle's done, right? That turn is over. You can use another Pokemon. I just think that's so cool. And it's never been done, and somehow it's gotta happen. I don't know if that's intelligent systems, teaming up with the Pokemon company, Game Freak, I don't know. I don't foresee Game Freak doing something like that, but you never know. And something I've always appreciated in the anime that you don't necessarily get in the video games is their personality. It's just the way that an artist can demonstrate compassion or power in the anime that really doesn't play out as much in the games. It's kind of flat, it's kind of just one note. In the video games, there's no difference, and there's no real sense of energy, if you will. That's just my personal opinion. And this is strictly comparing the Pokemon video games to when you watch the anime. There's just no comparison. It's action-packed, it's engaging. At least as a kid, I'm on the edge of my seat when I'm watching these battles play out. Oh my gosh, is Ash gonna win? What's Ash gonna do? Maybe this is a video for another time, but I also have an idea for a different type of Pokemon game where you're actually controlling the Pokemon themselves, like Pokken, but it's not a fighting game. But back to this idea, the Fire Emblem twist could be really cool. It could make those battles a little more exciting. And when you get a critical hit, just like in Fire Emblem, how the animations change, you can have a different animation for every type of move that is used, where the animation just looks a little bit different, it's a little bit more explosive, where the same thing can apply. And if you get a critical hit, the animation changes a little bit. If you're using bubble, maybe there's more bubbles, you know, bubble beam, it's just tons of bubbles, and then you got hydro pump, or maybe you have the normal animation, a lot of water coming out, but the critical is like, you have a sweet little pause animation. Maybe the Pokemon does a slightly different move, you know what I mean? To like wind up, and then they let it rip. Just something that makes battles feel different and more engaging and more meaningful. So on some routes, maybe there's just wild Pokemon, and so you have to fight against them, and maybe the final boss on that map is some mid-evolution Pokemon. If it's Route 1, then maybe the final boss is a Pidgeotto on that route, and they're going to be a little bit more powerful. Now, apart from the battles themselves on the maps, you of course have the storyline. Haven't put a lot of thought into this, but I do enjoy, if you've played the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, you're kind of thrust into that world and you can understand and translate what the Pokemon are saying. I think that aspect can move over into this Pokemon Fire Emblem game, where you are the Pokemon and they're having conversations with each other, just like in Mystery Dungeon. So whatever that storyline looks like, someone else more intelligent than me can put that together. But that's my thought process, is to make it a little bit more engaging. The Pokemon can have conversations, just like Fire Emblem characters via their sprites or portraits. They're talking and they're moving on to the next chapter. Think of that with Pokemon. This leads me to the progression in Fire Emblem. You promote. You have your Lord, they promote into Great Lord, or you have a mercenary unit that promotes into a hero, for example. You have a mage promoting into a sage. Is that not Pokemon? When you evolve, you have a Squirtle, a tier 1 kind of Pokemon. Different strengths, different weaknesses, but they can promote, they can evolve into Wartortle. And then there's a third tier where they can promote into Blastoise, and just all the promotion does is it increases your stats a little bit. You don't have to promote, but you can. And that aspect of Fire Emblem can be brought into this make-believe crossover game. I think that would be incredible. I think that would be so cool. And then you have your same unit who now looks different in battle when you engage in a fight, and the same moves that the Squirtle used now looks different when you use it as a Wartortle. The animation is different, the crit is different. It would require a lot, but I think it's worth doing. And if any company can do it, wouldn't it be the Pokemon company? They're like the biggest company in the world. They got like so much money. Use your resources, develop this kind of spin-off game. People love Pokemon, people love Fire Emblem. I think it would be a hit. But those are my thoughts. That's all I wanted to talk about. Leave your comments below if you have any other ideas. I don't know if this would happen. If this video takes off, maybe some Pokemon exec sees it. Maybe someone at Game Freak, someone at Intelligent Systems sees this video. Maybe we have some meetings, have some conversations. Maybe we make this happen. I don't know. That's a long shot. But I just know these are two great series of games, and this is an area unexplored by either. Pokemon hasn't done this type of battle system, grid-based, Fire Emblem type approach. And Intelligent Systems, who, as far as I know, just primarily works on the Fire Emblem games, why not use a company like Pokemon, where the assets, the Pokemon, the creatures, they already exist, and you can just kind of adapt them to your style of storytelling and of gameplay, and just make that happen. I was losing sleep over it, but I wanted to put it into a video. Maybe y'all are like-minded like me, but let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to Fetch Quest. This is the first time I've done anything like this, where I just kind of talk and maybe just show some clips and snippets of gameplay, of kind of showing you what I'm talking about. These are all just thoughts in my head. But thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. I appreciate you very much. And of course, this is the Fetch Quests channel. Don't forget to do some Fetch Quests of your own, because sometimes the rewards are worth it. Bye, y'all.